Welcome to episode 7 of Education, a Clusterfuck in Need of Repair. This episode, on a need-to-know basis, is a brief reflection on some of the things I've learned over the first 6 episodes, and an invitation to you as teachers to talk about what you know. Before we start, I'd like to emphasize that all ideas presented in this podcast are my own, and do not reflect the thoughts, opinions, or positions of my employer, Emerson College, its programs, or its representatives. Why do we, teachers, come to feel that the things we know and are able to do are unimportant or insufficient? People develop differently at different ages, and life actually isn't a race unless we make it one. This episode, on a need-to-know basis, is a brief reflection on some of the things I've learned over the first 6 episodes, and an invitation to you as teachers to talk about what you know. But first, thank you to the listeners who contributed behavior management ideas. Here are a few that I hope will be useful to you. 1. Building rapport and having connections with the students, better than anything. 2. Go like this with a gesture following. This is a strategy I use in my own classes and teach my methods courses to theater ed students. I try to vary the motions that I use from small to huge and give it all I've got. One listener ends her "if you can hear me do this" with "if you can hear me, zip." She says that they all join in and it works super well. Plus, they feel like they're part of it and enjoy being in on the ritual. Again, a form of agency. She says, quote, "They love it and respond every time. They love to make it sassy and silly, too." She reports that other students have seen it and it works for them, too. Every time. Not just a drama tool. One piece of additional advice on this one. When it's a new class, always start with gestures that fall outside of the parameters of your body and face. Many kids won't look at your body and face for the first few weeks. Okay, number 3. Another teacher says, always follow through with parent calls. I'll second that one. And when you do call, try to make it clear that while you don't like the behavior, you like the child. It fosters a much more positive interaction. Finally, number 4, another teacher offered a piece of advice to end this section. Whatever you choose, be consistent with it. If you introduce a new strategy and then abandon it after it's hard, you lose trust and never see results. So, now what I've learned so far through the first 6 episodes. 1. Teachers are hungry to talk about what they do, not in the take some professional development workshops so you can jump through more of the system's hoops way, but in a way that allows them to think about the job, reflect on its challenges and benefits, and share ideas for surviving current clusterfuckery for themselves and the kids. 2. Behavior management, which used to become less of a focus for teachers as they gained experience in the classroom, has resurfaced as a fucking monster as kids' behavior seem to be escalating in the face of a system that ignores who they are and what a human is capable of. I mean, how hard is it to learn with a foot on your neck 24/7? And how much more boring can we make it? A story, not quite a detour. This is more like a slowdown for a fender bender during rush hour. You have some skin in the game because you're stuck in traffic, even though your car is unscathed. Anyway, I have a friend who just started a job in an urban school, a K-8 that's had theater teachers rotating through it over the past 3 years, sometimes months after just a couple of months, due to a lack of administrative support and really tough kids. On her first day, kids were literally starting a pool for how long she'd last. Money was actually changing hands as she started class. The smart money was on a week. Some high rollers were betting on a few days. And the kids were quite upfront about what they were doing, telling her she'd never make it. She was cursed out in a bunch of different languages, and when a kid called her a "see you next Tuesday" in Cape Verdean, another student thoughtfully translated it for her. Fortunately, she was amused rather than shocked. Will she last? I hope so. She needs the job, and the kids need a good class that incorporates active learning, multiple intelligences teaching, and social-emotional learning. But my point in bringing this up, how badly did those kids need power in school to pull that shit? Because when the school is between drama teachers, it's not like they provide something interesting for the kids to do in its place. They usually assign them to a study hall where the kids sit, theoretically, in silence and do their homework. Ha ha. So they're in it for the heady payoff of making something happen in an environment where they are most often acted on by the system. We'll have much less behavior to manage if we change that dynamic. Just saying. 3, we are all so fucking busy. The foot on the kids' necks is also on our necks. The message from many systems is, what else can you do for us to justify your paycheck? Because just teaching 4 to 6 classes a day, 20 to 35 kids at a time, planning, prepping materials, grading, communicating with parents, running extracurriculars, doing duties, etc., isn't enough, right? If I sound angry about this, it's because I am. In Massachusetts, one of the goals for teachers is to communicate the joy of learning to students. How the fuck is that supposed to happen in the current situation? Where is the potential for joy here? Well, it lives in us. It's in there somewhere, and we need to figure out a way to access it again, or we're all going under together. 4, teachers know a lot. A detour, which is a story which leads into the main purpose of this episode. Tidy, I know. I'm congratulating myself. When I asked Amy Zarnofsky-Rollins to be interviewed for the podcast, we had a pre-meeting to talk about the questions I'd ask and what she wanted to be sure to say. Yes, I'm very cool and professional now here in Podcastville. No longer stumbling around in the dark with my hands out to protect my face. Now I'm like holding a Bic lighter and following its glow, trying not to burn my fingers. Like the guy in The Stand making his way through the Lincoln Tunnel in the pitch black. A terrifying scene, by the way. But I'm getting there. Anyway, after the conversation, I had a wave of imposter syndrome wash over me. What the fuck am I doing talking to people about education? I haven't taught K through 12 in 20 years, beyond the occasional workshop or specialty gig. I mean, who am I to tell people this stuff? A few hours later, I got a text from Amy expressing her concerns that she had nothing to add to the conversation about behavior management. She offered me the chance to withdraw my invitation for the interview. And this is a person who truly knows her shit. If you've listened to episode 6, you know what I mean. Which led me to 2 questions. 1, why do we, teachers, come to feel that the things we know and are able to do gracefully, seamlessly, with complexity and insight are unimportant or insufficient? What is the impact of society's messages? Those who can do, those who can't teach. You just want summers off, or our kids haven't reclaimed all of their lost learning from COVID and it's your fault. Well, it's not your fault, but we're going to blame you. And what does lost learning mean anyway? Like there's a finish line for each grade level and age, and if we don't make it, what? Because the finish line is pretend, as any developmental psychologist will tell you, and plenty of kids didn't make it over that line even before the COVID break. Because people develop differently at different ages. And life actually isn't a race. unless we make it one. We made this up, and we need to remake it in a more humane model. Sorry, I didn't see that detour coming. Let's face it, it became a rant. Tough shit. You can fast forward over that part. Ooh, too late for that. My bad. Okay, question 2. How can I learn more when I don't necessarily know what I don't know? It's a chicken and the egg dilemma. So I came up with a plan. Well, actually, I stole a plan from France in the 1700s. The salon. The salon, the North American pronunciation, was a private social gathering where a mix of guests from varied backgrounds came together to openly discuss art, literature, philosophy, music, and politics. They were an opportunity to encounter new ideas, sometimes radical ones, in various fields, and so they contributed to the spread of Enlightenment thought. The salon became a cultural institution, particularly in the 17th and 18th centuries. It seems like a good time to revive them. Salons were initially associated with Paris and were most often hosted by wealthy and well-connected women. Well, I don't live in Paris, and I'm not wealthy, but I am well-connected in the world of teachers and teaching, and I love the world of ideas, especially ideas about education. So I'm inviting teachers to join me in this salon to talk about teaching, learning, and education. Not what sucks, since we all know a lot about that, but about the things we know about education that are quickly being lost to common knowledge. Things that might suggest paths to positive change. I want people to know what you all know. I want to know what you all know. This will be a Zoom salon, sadly, so no lovely hors d'oeuvres, but I'm hoping to hold a salon about 4 times a year. Each salon will include 15 teachers, hopefully coming with varied lengths of time in the classroom, new teachers and experienced ones, from a range of grade levels and types of schools, public and private, urban, suburban, and rural. We'll meet for about an hour and talk about different aspects of the world you know. The world of teachers and learners. The world of school. With an eye towards what you might change if you could. But no action plans, okay? The first salon will take place on Sunday, January 12th from 3 to 4 p.m. And the topic will be, what do you want to tell the world about teaching, learning, education? What do you most want other people to know? We'll record it and post it as an episode if everyone agrees to that. So if you're interested in participating, please DM me in my Instagram account, Education Cluster F_CK, or email me at educationclusterfck@gmail.com, and I'll put you on the list as a participant. If you'd like to listen in but not participate, let me know that too, and I'll put you on that list. You'll have access to the chat. We'll be taking a holiday break from now until January 12th for obvious reasons. 1, it's the holidays. 2, there's an infant living in our house, and one baby keeps 4 adults running, believe you me. For someone who can't even stand up, he's certainly kicking our asses. And 3, it's the holidays. It's a vacation, and we all need one. And in the spirit of this time of year, I leave you with this wish from another of my many refrigerator magnets, by Agnes M. Farrow. I wish you tenderness for the past, courage for the present, hope for the future. As always, thank you for listening. I look forward to talking with some of you on January 12th at our very first salon. If you have time, please post a review or share this with someone you think it would be useful for.
J like the letter, I'm making several waves. I know the mission is same. I made a splash, now all of my passes last like running a race with Usain. I keep it coming like this is a buffet. And if I'm stumbling, I'm in the graves. Never gon' fumble it, I get the bag and I run with it, gunning it, gunning it, gunning it, gunning it.